Cleveland County Sheriff has joined 2 city councilors in opposing the proposed relocation of the Norman homeless shelter. This is some like NIMBY bullshit, like not in my backyard stuff. Um, if I'd had more time with Mayor Clark, perhaps I would have pressed on this issue. But I don't know that's a winning issue. A lot of people get scared about where we put things, but
Well, they're saying
I would
that
love the
they're
mayor to
scared
talk.
of having this homeless shelter too close to schools because sex offenders will go to the homeless shelter. Meanwhile, at the very bottom of the article, it says that sex offenders are not allowed at homeless shelters. They will
Yeah.
be, denied entry. And they're like, we can't have it close to a school, but the proposed second location is next to the international school. So what they mean is we can't have it by a school with a bunch of little white kids, but we can have it by a school with a bunch of people who aren't from here.
Yeah.
So fuck that. Fuck whoever thought this was a good idea. Just the whole situation's just a fucking piece of shit, and it just I can't. Like,
Yeah, no, and this is like the argument I try to always make on these sorts of things is like demonizing sex offenders to this level actually makes us less safer. Because think about what you're saying. You're saying I would rather them live in a tent, live in a ditch, live wherever, a park, wherever they can find a space to live, instead of in a shelter where they're safe and we know where people are. I mean, it doesn't even make sense for the people who are doing the fear mongering, because it's like, so what
yeah.
you're saying is you actually want it to be way less like controlled.
Well,
Like,
Norman doesn't want that either. They don't want them living in tents. They don't want them at all. That is the
well,
thing.
yeah,
That's what
I
it all
mean,
comes down to. Is they don't want to see homeless people. They want to pretend like they're a perfect city. Nothing's wrong. They can handle everything on their own.
If we just hide our problems, they won't exist. Like, this is so stupid. And I'm sorry I use that word, but I'm like, this is the most foolish thing that anybody could really come up with. I, at this point, like, what if, and here's the thought,
yeah.
what if, instead of just building a homeless shelter, we gave some folks a home? Oh my God.
What?
Whoa!
Whoa,
Don't
whoa,
say
whoa.
that.
or
Then we won't have shit to fight about.
or like even or you know even if it's just like an apartment, like even a room to yourself.
Yeah.
Honestly, like people want like communities. People want communities. They want to be able to like get along together.
Yeah.
But no, and I mean, this doesn't even solve the whole problem too.
Yeah.
Inadequate bus systems for people to get around and everything like that. Like you ask why folks stay and start encamping in particular areas, especially underneath highways and everything. It's dangerous for everyone.
Everybody. Everybody. Yeah, and I get this comment. I mean, it's Walker, but let's be real. The logical conclusion of this is they want people who live outside to be eliminated. And I mean, I definitely these guys who are like hardcore on this issue. And somebody asks like, what does the sheriff have to do with it? It's like it's just political. Like they're just scoring points off of fear and fear mongering. But like at the end of the day, like yeah, I mean that maybe sounds good to some conservatives. Like yeah, we'll just like through neglect, because they're not bold enough to say we should just go out and shoot all these people, and that would obviously violate the Constitution and a whole bunch of other things. But we'll kill them by neglect. But the problem with that is like yeah, you might get some sex offenders, but you're also going to get single mothers who get evicted. You're also going to get veterans. You're also going to get people suffering just treatable addiction problems. You're also going to get mentally ill people. Like the problem with going after this one group that you strongly dislike for maybe good reasons, for honestly in many cases really bad reasons, is you're also going to catch a bunch of people who we should be helping. And so by not building this shelter just because you're scared of this one probably relatively small group, you're going to catch all these other folks, and that's fucked up. Like it's fucked up, and it doesn't make us more safe.
And they talk
And it's
about
just
how we
gross.
need to protect the most vulnerable people in our society, and they name children and elderly people. And I don't know. I argue that they aren't the most vulnerable people in our society. Like children, for sure, yeah. Elderly people, in a certain sense, yeah. But then we look at all these groups that are demonized just based on the fact of who they are, and they risk being murdered just for walking down the street and living their truth as to who they are.
Yeah.
So they're making problems, one, where they don't exist, and yeah, they're scared about things that most likely won't happen to them.
I was in Shawnee last week, spoke with their teacher of the year. One of their school districts is facing up to 20% homelessness for their students.
Jesus.
20%. It's fucking ridiculous. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't understand why we treat houseless folks like they're criminals. Like, I mean, it because the other thing too is like like the most people who do this mutual aid work are working class people, right? It doesn't make any of us feel good, especially because like guess what? We're all of ourselves one paycheck away from experiencing that problem ourselves.
100%.
So like at that point, like what happens? Like what happens then? Are we also going to be treated like criminals? I guess so, because they do so already.
Yeah.
And a lot of this houselessness, too, is affected by the lack of rental assistance, the lack of investment in how we took like that our CARES fund money, right? Like and the other thing too is like people like to argue like, oh no, like the houseless and stuff like that are coming here. Well, you got a million nonprofits on your hands, Oklahoma, who all want to be doing the same job over and over again. Maybe you should be asking why your public agencies don't do those jobs that they were supposed to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's all this stuff is such a fixable problem. I mean, people just don't appreciate how wealthy a country we are. And like, yeah, I mean, I agree with the comment. The homeless people are a reminder of our societal failure. Yeah, they are. And I mean, I hate looking at it too. I mean, in the sense that like, it makes me feel bad. It sometimes, if they're having a crisis of some sort, it can be a little scary. Like, I don't deny that, but it's like, we are a wealthy enough society that we can solve this. This is a solvable problem in the United States of America. Like, it should not exist. We just have to make like slightly different choices and stick to them for more than like a year. And we could create the systems and the properties and the availability to really solve this. It's just purely a political will thing. And that's frankly just kind of depressing. Like, just knowing that we could fix this and we just kind of choose not to. So anyway, just wanted to highlight that because I think they're overplaying their hand, especially in Norman. Like, I don't think the average Normanite like doesn't want to build a shelter. I don't think the average Normanite.
I mean, the city of Norman has actually funded private nonprofits like Food and Shelter, for example, for this reason. Houseless folks actually come to Norman more than OKC because they get better treatment in places like Norman. And that has to do with the people that are also in Norman, too. They aren't, I mean, let's just be honest. Like, the city of Norman puts a lot of money into the public programming, more into the parks and recreation and stuff like that. And so this is something of a safety concern for absolutely everybody. Target the root cause of this issue. And to be fair, it would be great to see something from the state, but we know that's not going to happen, and that the burden is going to fall on municipalities all over again.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're working on it. County level, I mean, they had a great meeting this morning just talking about like all the ways the governments and different funding sources could be used to address some of the real problems we have in our community instead of just giving wealthy developers more money to just build luxury BS. So anyway, we are working on it. We're having these conversations a lot. So yeah, appreciate folks sticking with it. Thanks for watching our video. Please give it a like and hit that subscribe button for more content. If you want to engage with us, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram.